Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shaya Makunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Maturam Ki Jai Jagadasami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shrimad Devi Ki Jai Samvita Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari. All glorious the assembled devotees, all glorious the assembled devotees, all glorious the assembled devotees, all glorious to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prastaya, Utale, Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani Namaste, Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pacharni Nivashesha Srinyavadi, Paschacha Deja Tarne Prabhupada Ki Jai. So let me read the translation of this poem by Narottam Das Thakur. When will that opportune moment come to me when I shiver upon chanting the name of Lord Gauranga? When will I cry while chanting Hare Krishna? When will I receive the causeless mercy of Lord Nityananda so that my desires for material enjoyment become insignificant? When will my mind be purified of material anxieties and desires so that I can understand Vrindavana? When shall I be very eager to study the books by the 6 Goswamis so that I can understand the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna? Gotta go. Okay. Thank you. Played the drum very well. The lotus feet of the 6 Goswamis are my only shelter and constant separation from them. I remain Narottama Das Thakur, Narottama Das Thakur. So, this is our songbook, the Goloka, New Goloka song. Picture the views. We have a lot of copies in our temple of this songbook. Show us. This Radha Golokananda. You've seen them. You've seen them. Okay, you want to take this away, sir? So we're going to continue reading Nectar Devotion, and just a few things I want to say based on this poem by Narottam Das Thakur. That if we want to understand Radha and Krishna, because I didn't really get a chance to talk a lot in class today because we were time bound because of the opening of the deities at noon, so I had to go real quick and just try to squeeze as much as I could into a short amount of time. So we talked about the 2 reasons we're getting initiated. One is to actually become Krishna conscious, in a nutshell. And the other reason was so that we can be empowered to preach Krishna consciousness. But one thing is, I didn't really connect the two that much in terms of how one is dependent on the other. Because, I'll explain, that actually, if we want to understand Radha and Krishna, I want to realize our spiritual nature, then we're dependent on connecting to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As the Acharyas describe, that there is a whole process for understanding Radha and Krishna. And the first process is, first of all, you approach Lord Nityananda, and of course you have Lord Nityananda's representative, the spiritual master. That's to get rid of all these dirty things in your heart, which are called anarthas. Things you don't want. Things that you may want, but you shouldn't want. How's that? Like lust, anger, greed, illusion, envy, and all those wonderful things that are torturing us. And then when you approach Lord Nityananda, you actually get free, anartha nivritti, and then you can finally approach Lord Chaitanya. But actually, another point about approaching Lord Nityananda, we talk about Lord Nityananda approaching, I think I have to talk about that. It's not simply chanting Nitai all the time. There are actually groups like that where they just chant Nitai, 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 Nitai. And that's really not our process, because Lord Nityananda is out there with Haridas Thakur, spreading Krishna, being compassionate. In fact, we talk about Lord Chaitanya being very compassionate, Namo Mahabharanyaya, but Lord Nityananda is more compassionate than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Lord Nityananda's representative, the spiritual masters, well, manifests Lord Nityananda's mercy. Tara Saksha Jagai Madai. Tara, that means the evidence is Jagai and Madai. So in this world, we have to deal with so many Jagais and Madais. It's interesting. In my own dealings, I have to deal. But you're not like Jagai Madai. He's a devotee almost from birth. You know. I met Nila Madhava when he was about your age. And he was running a hotel. Talk about child labor. Right?
Able to save a little bit from there.
Yeah, he was running the front desk when I checked into the hotel. That's when I met him. So, see, it pays to have a devotee go to your hotel.
Yeah.
There's no electricity at that point. So anyway, so Jagai and Madai, talking about Jagai and Madai. So one has to really take the austerity, like Prabhupada came to the Western world and he dealt with so many Jagais and Madais. I mean, literally, if you see the videos of Srila Prabhupada's first kirtans in New York, people were intoxicated during the kirtan. It was worse than Jagai and Madai. At least Jagai and Madai, when they finally got into chanting, were not intoxicated. But in New York, they actually had people were literally intoxicated as Prabhupada was leading kirtan. And Prabhupada just tolerated it and encouraged it. And the kirtan worked, of course. So to approach Lord Nityananda is to actually take on Lord Nityananda's mood, like we were talking about the other day of Raghunuga Bhakti, where you follow in the footsteps of eternal resident to Vrindavan and you take on their mood and you try to serve them. So that's what it means to approach Lord Nityananda, not simply chanting Nitai, 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 but to take on their mood of his mood of compassion. And as we mentioned, actually in class, reciting this verse by Lord Kapilade from the third canto of Bhagavatam, Tatikshava Kurunika. The first aspect or principle in compassion is Tatikshava, which means tolerance. Because without tolerance, you can't be compassionate. It's impossible, because then you're only going to be approaching people who please you, who are nice to you. I mean, then where's the compassion? Then it's passion instead of compassion, because you're trying to enjoy things. So compassion means you tolerate people, but actually not just tolerate them and bite your lip. So a disciple comes up for initiation. Do you like me? I tolerate you. I remember I'll tell you a funny story, that one time I met a couple that had been married for 50 years. And I said, so you must really love each other. And they said, no, we tolerate each other. So, but the compassion is not just an act, it's a mood of really caring for the people you're being compassionate with. Like Vasudev Dutt, Haradukha Dukhi, that even if someone doesn't please your senses, like certainly the people in New York did not please Prabhupada's senses in that particular point, then you really care for them. It's like a mother caring for the child, that the child is doing things that for other people would really disturb their mind. anyway, you understand the diaper scenario. So, and the mother, probably even said the mother considers the stool the child like sandalwood pulp. Probably said that. Don't blame me for that quote. And if the child, God forbid, the child would put something on the wall, it would be like finger painting. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. But because there's love there. Or like another quote is like, the mother of a blind child sees the child as having lotus eyes. So there's that's another quote Prabhupada gave about that. So, in other words, like Prabhupada, we mentioned before about, I met Prabhupada in 1971. So what impressed me was his compassion, his love for all of us. Prabhupada walked into this temple where most of us were really far out. I mean, just like a week before, I had looked like Satya Sai Baba before I saw Prabhupada. You understand, with a beard, worse than Satya Sai Baba. At least Satya Sai Baba was clean shaven. So, I mean, all of us were just like right off the street in America. And Prabhupada looked at us with such love and compassion. It would emanate, like body language speaks louder than the words, louder than that. Body language and tone of voice. There he is. So I'm so compassionate with Praneshwara, even though I wanted to chastise him, I can't. No, you don't want to know what he did. So anyway, but Prabhupada looked at us with such compassion and tolerance that, we got more customers. We got Krishna's mother and father. Haribol. So Prabhupada looked at us with such compassion that my heart melted immediately before even Prabhupada spoke. And literally, I couldn't understand what Prabhupada was saying. I mean, I don't know if some of you experienced this, especially in the Western world. When you first listen to Prabhupada, you don't understand that much. It takes a few months. Oh, that's what he's saying. Krishna's God. Okay, got it. So, and then Prabhupada gave this lecture at the university where we were. And he spoke about something incredible that really I didn't even understand either. He talked about Mahavishnu, Garbhadakshay, Vishnu, and Shira.
Wow.
He was in the park in front of the university, what's called a union. I don't know if you know what a union is. Where everyone hangs out, the student union. And we set up a stage for Prabhupada, who was there, and he just talked about, and then Mahavishnu expands his Garbhadakshay Vishnu. I don't understand it. And what are the students thinking, thinking, oh my God. But the purity, like Prabhupada says, purity is the force, like that. The purity was there. I mean, it was Prabhupada just like intensely trying to reach out to us. And I was just transfixed. Even though, basically, I hardly understood anything. 1 week in the Hare Krishna movement, no Bhakti Shastri, obviously. And I barely understood I wasn't the body. I mean, theoretically, barely understood that.
Yeah.
And understood reincarnation. I mean, that's the two things I understood. And Krishna is the name of God, and you should chant. That's about it. The extent of my knowledge at that particular point. And Bhagavad Gita is a nice book. That's about it. That's about it. Didn't know anything about, those of you from India, never heard of Janmashtami before, or any of these things. It was just that. And then, so meeting Prabhupada, anyway, so because he was manifesting compassion as an agent of Lord Nityananda, then that was effective. So that's really what's required. I mean, not on the level of Prabhupada, I mean, who can do that? But to really care for people. Until you care for other people, you can't advance in devotional service. Because then you remain something we call, or the Shastras call, a Kanishta Adhikari. A Kanishta Adhikari means materialistic. The word Adhikari means a right. So a Kanishta Adhikari chants Hare Krishna or goes to the temple, but really doesn't see Krishna. So the first prerequisite to advance is to see Krishna in everyone's heart and to see everybody. Oh, Palashwa, come in. To see everybody as a temple of Krishna. See every person as a temple of Krishna. So that's when one can come to that point, then you're ready for Lord Chaitanya's mercy. Ready approached Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then you become ecstatic. And this is described, this whole process. I'm just describing the process that's described by the acharyas. The space.
He can't sit down.
What about C for Krishna Lila? You all right, Krishna Lila?
Yes, yes.
Don't turn back to the
Yeah,
deep. Be careful. Yeah. So anyway, so then one approaches Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to come to the ecstatic platform. Then when you come to the ecstatic platform, then you're ready to approach 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan to understand the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna. So that's the progression as mentioned by the acharyas. First, Lord Nityananda, spiritual master, compassion, approaching Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, understanding his pastimes, reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, which we've been reading in our normal classes every evening. And then we can approach Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. And of course, we're doing that in the Nectar of Devotion. And Rupa Goswami's advanced book is called the Ujjvala Nilamani, which goes into great detail about Radha and Krishna and their pastimes and their associates. So anyway, this is the process. And it starts with being compassionate. So as I said, those are the two necessary ingredients to advance in devotions, are being strict in one's sadhana. And the second part is being compassionate. And that's what I learned in the Krishna consciousness movement. The first day I joined the movement, they sent me out in Sankirtan. I didn't know what to say to anybody. They just go out and distribute magazines. We didn't have books in those days. Back to Godhead. Fortunately, it was only 25 cents. Preach back to God. Things were cheaper in those days. And I didn't know how to stop people. I was really shy, and I was afraid of people seeing me in a dhoti. So I would hide out each time a car drove by, in case it might be my friend. You know, oh my God, what are they going to think of me?
That's why Nima doesn't want to go out on Harinam.
Really? What if his friends see him in a dhoti?
Did you actually distribute any magazines?
Yeah. Just the old ladies. They were easy to stop.
Easy target, yeah.
I mean, later, it's true. What can I say? I mean, later on, I got more bold. And one day, a few years later, or maybe a year later, I was distributing books in Texas, and the big, tall people with guns on them. And at one time, I got punched out. You know. in Texas.
Like,
Yes,
Yes.
cowboys.
Yeah, the Cowboys.
Cowboys.
Cowboys. So anyway, so this is my experience. But the first day, and I experienced ecstasy going out there the first day. Even as a new devotee. Actually, I was tricked to go out to Sankirtan. Because the temple president, he said, you can become the temple treasurer. And I thought, this is a comfortable service for me. I'm good at mathematics. That's why I studied at the university, mathematics and physics. But there was only like $5 in the temple treasury. So
You got a fundraise.
yeah, the accounting didn't take a long time. So, well, we had many experiences on Sankirtan. One experience is what we didn't have any money to pay the rent. It was only like $300 a month. Nothing now in today's world. So it was we didn't have any money to pay the rent, so we just went out to Sankirtan and just Krishna will take care of it. We had this attitude in the beginning, which you don't have now so much, that Krishna's taking care of, Krishna's protecting you, Krishna's maintaining you. Nowadays, you just have so much facility. It's not that I don't think not many of you worry about paying your rent every month. You have the money to buy the latest gadgets.
Yeah.
Even me with Guru Maharaj with all the gadgets. I'm not worried about these things. So people gave me money in the temple today. I thought I'll just give it all the deities. I don't need it. But anyway, in those days, it was like that. You were depending on Krishna completely. It was good training. It's brahmachari training. So anyway, so we were out there and there was no money to pay the rent. And the rent was due the next day. So we're out there, oh my God, and collecting nickels and dimes and quarters. Nickel is 5 cents. Dime is 10 cents. Quarter is 25 cents. You don't pay $350 or something with nickels and dimes, of course.
No.
And so then some stranger walks up to us, hands us an envelope and just runs away. And inside the envelope was $350, enough for the rent. So you have these experiences where you can definitely see that Krishna's taking care of you. Krishna gives you a lot of these experiences in the beginning. And continues. Continues like that. They have all these like faith-building experiences in Krishna consciousness. Amazing experiences. And so that
kind of emboldens the devotee's faith.
Yeah, that was a faith-building experiences. That just really, wow, Krishna's actually there.
It's going to provide.
Yeah. So in many ways, we didn't have cars in those days. We would just hitchhike to go to places and distribute books. And, but we ate very nice prasadam. None of us ever starved. So that built up the faith. So the point is, yes, from the very beginning of my Krishna consciousness, it's been, you get out there and share Krishna consciousness with others. And that's really how you can advance in devotional service. And then later on, of course, I went on traveling Sankirtan and the experience, like going out for 12 hours a day distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, was some of the most ecstatic experiences I've ever had in my life.
So bus party.
No, we had a van.
Yeah.
A van. I mean, first we were traveling in a Volkswagen Bug, two of us.
Oh.
And I would sleep in the front and the other person would sleep in the back.
Right.
You know what a Volkswagen Bug is?
Yes.
A beetle.
Like a beetle.
A beetle.
Yeah.
Beetle. You know how much room there is to sleep?
Nothing.
Nothing. You got it.
Nothing.
It's like going back to your mother's womb. Sleep in it because you have to curl up. And it's particularly hard because you got the gear shift thing right in the middle, the floor. The floor gear shift.
Yes.
I don't know if you ever.
Yeah. It's very hard. There is no room at all.
Yeah, you ever driven a car with a floor
Floor gear.
gear shift? And so then we take baths outside
Cold water.
when it was below freezing. And to stay warm in the winter and distribute Prabhupada's books, we would eat sticks of butter like they were bananas. You know, peel the sticks of butter and eat them. And that keeps you warm in the winter. It's like the Eskimos, they eat, anyway, I won't tell you what they eat. They take the seals and eat the fat from the skin.
Yeah.
And so we were doing that. But it was some of the most ecstatic times of my Krishna consciousness. So, you know, I can attribute whatever advancement I've made by reaching out to help people become Krishna conscious. And then you have great devotees like Narada Muni. I'm not a great devotee, who just simply dedicate their whole existence eternally just to traveling and helping people. So we have to really connect. The point I'm making is we have to really connect our advancement in Krishna consciousness to our compassion towards others. Because otherwise you won't advance. It'll just be an illusion. An illusion of Krishna consciousness. It'll be Maya Krishna consciousness. All right. Any questions before we go on to the nectar to book?
I have a question.
Yes, your divine grace.
So
I wish you thought like that.
you know it. So
Oh, I wish you acted like that.
but you have to teach me that because I don't know anything.
She doesn't mind that. I mean,
Oh, no, yeah.
Yeah.
We know.
she doesn't mind it. So, all right. So it's a question.
So the question is like, so I heard you said that, compassion, that you can exhibit compassion because you kind of dig deep into the well of compassion that Prabhupada had and Krishna has.
Yeah.
And then, then you can manifest compassion. But what about tolerance? Like, how do you kind of how do you?
The motivation for tolerance is we talk theoretically about how you see Krishna in everyone's heart, but even beyond that, put yourself in someone else's situation, which means basically perspective taking, it's called, or role playing for a common thing. Like what I do is when I see someone, I'm thinking, and someone's acting in a particular way that may be a little less desirable, then I think that, if I had to go through what they went through, that's how I would be, so I put myself, that's empathy. And then you understand that they're acting or doing this for reasons, in many cases, that were beyond their control. For example, if someone's eating meat, first of all, you don't see them as a demon. You have to see them as acting in a way that's maybe considered under certain circumstances to be demoniac. But to see them all as your brothers and sisters, all as devotees who have forgotten it, all people who have amnesia. You know what amnesia is? And your business as their relative is to remind them who they are. Prabhupada said Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition. Krishna consciousness is there, it's inherent. I started to quote that verse class today, that how Krishna consciousness is there in the heart, Nityasiddha Krishna Prem. Everybody is inherently Krishna conscious, and they've just forgotten. And so we have to see people like that. That everybody, that's the way Lord Nityananda would see everybody. And so that is Lord Nityananda's vision. So if you tolerate it, we've talked about this before, if you tolerate just like, oh, I'm supposed to tolerate, I hate this. That's a lower level. It's better than nothing.
It's not good for health at all.
What?
It's not good for health.
No, it's not healthy. It's not healthy. One will be in anxiety, one will be tense. And it's not good for you to tolerate. Well, sometimes I just put my earplugs in to tolerate. So, You know, if someone doesn't chant properly or something. I have to be honest, I'm not gonna sit there, oh my God. So, but that's chanting, that's a different thing. But when dealing with people, I try to see that they're trying their best given their certain circumstance that they've been exposed to be happy, and their strategy is wrong, but that's all they know. So yeah, that's what tolerance means.
Thank you.
Otherwise it's you won't be able to continue doing it. Yeah, it's just a question, I have to tolerate, I have to tolerate, I have to tolerate. I mean, certain things with certain people, we're not asking people to stay around and get beaten or something like that. I really have to clarify that. I'm talking about that if you're in a situation to be able to help people, not that you stay around and tolerate someone else's abuse, that you don't do. You know, someone is abusing you, and I mean, causing you pain, then you leave the situation. And sometimes the most tolerant thing, the most compassionate thing you can do is to leave the situation so someone won't commit any more offenses. That's also an important point. So yeah, so that's toleration. It's done out of compassion, love. How does it, like again, how does the mother, you know, really, you can't even describe the mother as tolerating the kid because it's love. She does things that I couldn't imagine doing. I mean, if you ask me to change diapers on someone, I'll do anything. I'll go to jail. Yeah, I mean, oh my God. You know, there's certain things. So it's not that I have to tolerate these things. And anyway, so that's your question?
Yes, thank you.
So anyone else have a question before we go on to next year? Yes.
When you were sharing some of these, stories from your
Past.
yeah. So recently there was, I think 40 years or 40th anniversary of the Slovenian community.
Yeah.
And so many like devotees came I never saw before, and they were sharing so many stories, and like they felt like they were very. I mean, it was like very inspiring. They were very happy. Then at the end, one lady, she wrote a letter. She said, "These are like my favorite memories, like from my whole life, or from these days." And then her last sentence was, "But one cannot go like this long term." So my question is, how? I mean, it seems to me that it's often like that, like it works for some time, or some people get burned out or something. So what's the like long-term strategy? And is it like if you sacrifice more, you get more mercy, but how to not like sacrifice so much so that you get like burned out? And
Yeah, well, Prabhupada said, first priority is take care of your health. That's interesting. I mean, it's mental health and physical health. And I've always done that. My tolerance was always based upon understanding long-term setting a pace. You know, just like when you're running a race, you have to set a pace, a certain pace. You can't, like, you know, the story of the rabbit and the hare, the hare and the tortoise. And the tortoise set a pace, and the hare just was like a new devotee, and then gave up after some time. So I've always taken care of myself and not allowed myself to be, I would say, abused. I'll give you an example. Oh my God. I don't know if I should give this. I'll give the example. So, like when I was a brahmachari, I was traveling with a sannyasi, who should be not named to protect the guilty. Yeah, I'm not gonna mention names, because he's nice, I mean, he's reformed too. You know, there's a reform, guru reform, sannyasi reform, devotee reform. So basically, he would not allow me time to chant japa. So, you know, because he kept me busy all day long. Your brahmachari is supposed to be the legs of society. You understand the varnashram system. So what happened is that first day, of course, I ended up chanting my japa after 10 o'clock at night, which is not a pleasant experience when someone makes you wake up at 3 in the next morning. So I decided, okay, I'm going to be tricky. So basically, when I went out to do something, I always took an extra 2 hours to do it. And there was always too much traffic. Not really, but why did it take so long to go shopping for the boga? Oh my God, there was an accident and I got stuck in traffic and everything, like big lie. But anyway, so I always took steps to protect myself in different ways, even if it meant being a little tricky like that. So sometimes, you know, in other words, blind following is not good. Like Prabhupada said, blind following and absurd inquiries, this is from the Bhagavad Gita, are condemned. So, you know, so the Guru Maharaj or the sannyasi or the temple president or the GBC, you have to use your own brain. Because that person maybe not trying to hurt you, but may not be aware of what you're going through. You know, you're more aware of what you're going through than anyone else is. Like Krishna, of course, except for Krishna. Krishna is Kshetragya, but of everybody. You understand? He's the knower of the body, but he's the knower of everybody's body. But I only know my body. Let's say if you're experiencing some pain, I don't know what it's like. I could just say to you, tolerate. You should tolerate and be a good devotee. And you have this toothache. You're in Maya. Right? So this is one of the reasons, I would say the main reason that people just didn't keep that taste or didn't continue is because, anyway, because maybe it was the fault of some leadership like that, who didn't properly engage the devotees, and also because they didn't take proper charge of their own spiritual lives or their own well-being. So I always did it, and my life now is just as ecstatic as it ever was. It's not that I'm living in the good old days. You know, I talk about them sometimes because it was ecstatic, but I'm happy now. I was happy being in the temple room today, and there's more, it's deeper. The experience of the Krishna conscious experiences are not as surface as they were when I first joined. You know, surface experiences. It's more deep realization, understanding, connection than, you know, and when I first joined with symptoms of ecstasy, which is nice too. Like rolling on the ground, crying, torrents of rain, Goranga, Balite, Habi, Pulaka, Surya, Hari Hari, Hari Babi, near. Not really. But it was just like, you know, some external symptoms of ecstasy. But then after a while, it's the sambandha, it's the relationship. So also from another perspective, Krishna wants to see what you're here for. That's another perspective. That, you know, are you here for just like the nectar? Or are you here for the deep relationship? You know, and I'm not criticizing any of these devotees because I'm not in their hearts.
But does that really matter?
What?
Does that really matter?
What?
I mean, so what they're here for? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, because after a while,
Yeah.
Like people join the Hare Krishna movement, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvidha Bhajanti Mam.
Yes.
People come because they're looking for wealth, because they're in distress, they're looking for knowledge, or they're inquisitive.
But then eventually,
But eventually that has to be transformed into a deep desire to please Krishna. Or else people don't stay. Because in the beginning, Krishna gives you like special like coming attractions. You know, just like, oh. You know, I remember the first time I ate prasadam. It was like, oh my God, what's this? I remember the first time I ate a cauliflower cooked in ghee, not motor oil like the rest of you eat. Yeah. Did you ever cook in ghee, drop it in?
No.
Let's see,
I
motor oil.
don't use ghee when I cook.
No, not mine, prasadam. Okay, look at
Oh, yeah,
ghee.
for DDJ.
With the deeds, yeah. But all the prasadam in the temple was cooked with ghee,
Yeah.
pure cow's ghee. And that's enough to give you ecstasy, even if you're not chanting Hare Krishna. Isn't it when you have something fried in ghee? Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, if you want to keep a servant, you give them rice cooked in ghee, and they'll never leave you. And even if it's not offered, it's a nectar. Nectar, it's not spiritual, but anyway. So I remember when I ate my first prasadam, it was ecstasy. And you know, and the prasadam too, and there was so much ecstasy to eat prasadam that we all overate every meal. I don't know if you ever experienced these things. We used to not just overate to the point of pain. I remember after the Sunday feast, we were lying on our sides, moaning.
Were you LSD?
No,
It's called left side down.
yeah, left side down, because, yeah, we talked about that. The liver's on the right side, don't lie on your right side.
Wow.
So we all were lying, I remember lying on the steps in the temple. Oh. You know, it was like prasadam. It was so that initial taste. I mean, I don't overdose anymore. But it was like that. It was like that in the early days. When you first joined, the first taste prasadam. It's like, oh, I'm sure you experienced it.
I still remember.
Even
first few plates.
Yeah, I still remember too.
All the preparations. Since
Yeah.
first time in temple, full plates. I remember it was 30 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember everything.
I remember that.
I don't know what I ate today.
That's right. Same thing I experienced. So it's like, wow. So the Krishna gives you that. That's, Krishna's just like, it's like the worm on the hook. And then you get hooked, but you have to like the hook. Because after that, it's deep. You have to really be interested in a deep relationship with Krishna and Radha. I mean, and Krishna wants, in another sense, Krishna wants to see, I'm not criticizing those devotees because, from the other perspective, they may have gotten exploited or not taken care of properly like that. But I think a lot of us had those experiences where we had leaders or temple presidents, whatever, that really were not that great. I remember the first temple president I had, it wasn't that sannyasi, don't worry, but I asked Prabhupada for initiation 2 weeks after I joined the movement. The temple president was so upset that I went over his head that he almost killed me, literally. We were sweeping, every morning we cleaned the temple. So I would sweep and he would mop behind me. And I remember him coming with his mop to beat me because I went over and said, I just didn't move in 2 weeks. The poor new devotee, you know, just like, you disobeyed my instructions.
You should have gone to the
No, but the interesting thing is, before joining the movement, he was my friend. And that's what a position does to you. It, you know, turns, like Prabhupada said, if you go to Lanka, you become Ravana. So you find sometimes that people before were very nice and then they get a position and it goes to their head.
Yeah.
See, experience that in religious movements too. You know, I experienced that. I mean, now we have a nice relationship after 50 years. He loves me now. You know, we're really good friends. He's a lawyer. His name is Amarendra, and he's a lawyer, you know, lives in Gainesville, Florida. I mean, Alachua, Florida. So, you know, so whatever, you know, so we went through so many things that, I mean, I can tell you so many stories. I at one point, I was traveling with these two sannyasis, Guru Kripa and Yashodanand. Some of you may know this history, but they were like Jesse James. I don't know if you know Jesse James, like thugs. They were thugs. I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah.
Thug. Like in India, you have this word thug
Yeah.
too. I mean, really bad. So, and they used to beat up their brahmacharis sometimes. And I went to them and told them, I said, you guys are in Maya. You know, I think it was my ability to be defiant and think independently protected me too, you know, from the other perspective. I said, you guys in Maya, I am taking your deities and going away. So I took their deities. So I was the only Brahmin on the party. So it's not all my experiences were just like, wow, ecstatic. Oh, are you going?
I'm sorry.
Okay. You can watch the video later. So, oh my God, 546. So, but it was I think it was like I said, the deep relationship with Prabhupada that kept me going throughout all those different times. And that is the nectar, the relationship of love is actually the goal of Krishna consciousness. Not the nectar, not the, you know, the external nectar or even enjoying ecstatic symptoms. It's like, and then because it's out of love, you tolerate these things. I mean, even right now in my life, you know, it's not the most pleasant thing to be old and have to go to GBC meetings and all that other stuff. You know, it's just like, you know, I'm not sitting in the GBC meetings instead. I mean, I like it because I get to associate with all my dear God brothers, my friends. And, you know, we're all nice to each other, you know, because when you get to be 70, you get to be nice. You know, old devotees are like good wine, they get better with age. So, but throughout the years, you know, I've also been subjected to a lot of heavy stuff. A lot of heavy stuff. And then, but it's just, you know, I'm just thinking of Prabhupada. I have this deep connection with Prabhupada, and that's really the nectar, the deep connection, the relationship, sambandha, the relationship. And that keeps me going. Not the desire to get out of the material world. To me, getting out of the material world, you know, it's just like, who cares? It's the relationship. And that's what, you know, we talk about people being jivan mukta, that means liberated even in this lifetime. It's the relation, the deep relationships, the, you know, what's happening internally. And so we have to, and I'm not finding fault in anybody for leaving the movement, but because, you know, people have been treated unfairly in many cases. But we, myself and other leaders have to encourage people to go deeper into their relationship. and not just be external with things. And that, then, and some people don't want to go deeper. Some people just, are nectar hounds, as they say. Yeah, they just want the nectar, which is all right. And so then next life, I mean, I personally understand when I'm dealing with people that for many people, they're just starting Krishna consciousness, and next life they'll continue, and next life they'll continue. Because going back to God in one lifetime is not usually the process. Like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I've done many, many births. So I understand that we can start people on the path. My success is just to give people as much Christian consciousness as they're willing to take within this one lifetime. Prabhupada said, don't be surprised by who leaves, but be surprised by who stays. And also Krishna's testing us in different ways. All of us, including me, we're continually tested. I mean, even Prabhupada was tested by all are you going to go to America? Are you going to preach Krishna consciousness? His tolerance, his determination was tested. I mean, of course, as a pure devotee, he always passed the test. Doesn't it? I mean, Srimati Moorji didn't want to give him the passage across the ocean. They didn't want to give him the, what's it called, the P form. Remember that in the book? The P form, the permission from the, I guess, like Internal Revenue or something like that in India, to leave India. And Prabhupada had to go all the way to the boss of the whole department. So Prabhupada was tested. You see that. So life means tested, but each time, each day, you can deepen your relationship. But it's not that everybody has to stay inside the temple or anything like that. You can have your own Krishna consciousness outside the temple. Sometimes there's this concept that Krishna consciousness is temple-centric. It's not. Temple is meant to help with Krishna consciousness. Temple is meant for people. It's not that people are meant for the temple. So sometimes, you have this concept, but you can be just as Krishna conscious, not in the temple, because it's internal. The relationship is internal. So, and nobody's stopping you from that. I mean, I can understand why people can't work within the authority structure of ISKCON, particularly in certain countries which shall remain nameless, which I can't mention. So, because they may be, the leaders may be little bureaucratic. I can understand it. So who's stopping you on your own? You got Prabhupada's books, you got the holy name, you got everything like that. Anyway, Krishna will test us in different ways. So it's a good question. And I think we have to end. Krishna's testing me now. To see how much I can tolerate not eating. Oh, I'm not exactly hungry. But anyway, I have to stick to a schedule. I'm a schedule person. Okay, so thank you all for listening. It was interesting. Interesting questions and answers. All right, we'll see everybody. Tomorrow's Brikrama.
Yes.
7 o'clock sharp.
This is the same route that you took.
We're in the lower end of Govardhan.
So is it okay if we go to another temple?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to come.
If you've done the first time.
That's right. I've done thousands of times.
Wow. Many times.
Yeah, it's not that, oh, already done it, seen it, been there, done it, as they say. I was born the same Govardhan, the same holy name, the same Guru Maharaj. The same prasadam. And you ladies who are married, same husband. Sorry if I get a new husband today, new wife today. That's why I say you have to, if we deepen our relationship, even if you keep doing the same thing, like chanting the same mantra, same mantra. Why don't we have a new mantra today? Go, Linda, go. From that movie. So the movie. There was an Indian movie called Oh My God.
Yeah. Akshay.
Yakshay. Akshay Kumar. Go, Linda. So if we go deeper, then we can tolerate so much or just be happy. Isn't it? Then even if every day is the same, you can be happy. There was even one movie like that called Groundhog Day. No one's seen it. Where every day was the same until the person learned to chant Hare Krishna. So, okay. See everybody later. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai.